Operation Mincemeat, new historical drama, is out on Netflix in the US. As it turns out, in other countries, Netflix didn't actually secure the rights, and the film has been distributed or made available on various other streaming services depending on the specific country. It stars Colin Firth, Matthew McFadden, Kelly MacDonald, and Jason Isaacs. It tells the real-life, stranger-than-fiction story of Operation Mincemeat, which was one of the craziest espionage ideas in the history of not just World War II, but even more generally speaking, in the history of espionage. In 1943, the Allied forces were preparing to invade Sicily and take that as a sort of stepping stone towards the invasion of Italy, and then launching an attack on Germany from there. They wanted to mislead the Nazis and make them believe that they would try to attack the shores of Greece instead of Sicily. Several misinformation efforts were launched in order to ensure that the Germans would move their forces out of Sicily and make it easier to conquer. And one of those initiatives was to take a corpse, invent a whole backstory for it, in order to pretend it was a real existing British soldier, and then drop that corpse off at the coast of Spain for the German intelligence to find it, to find the falsified documents that were planted onto the corpse, and then based on them believe in this ruse. Absolutely insane idea, and yet the MI5 went ahead with the plan on approval by Winston Churchill himself. Now, the film on paper seems that it would not necessarily be very engrossing, as it's mostly just a group of people talking and preparing and polishing off the details of the plan while sitting inside various rooms. So, not a lot of action, not a lot of visual variety, but fortunately the real story of Operation Mincemeat is very, very engaging. It's full of hard-to-believe twists and turns, from the opposition within the British intelligence to treat this idea seriously and then trying to sabotage it, through many, many hiccups along the way, each of them being a serious threat to the operation as a whole, to just derail the whole thing. It is quite fascinating, and it reads almost like a spy novel, which shouldn't make it surprising then that several of the people involved in the operation went on to become novelists after the war, including none other than Ian Fleming, the author of James Bond books, who is also one of the characters in the film. Sounds great then, doesn't it? Well, there's one problem. For some reason, the movie seems like it didn't believe that the espionage plot on its own would have been enough to pull people in. And so it tries to come up with ways to add depth to its central characters and sort of develop them with a subplot. Unfortunately, it chooses to do so by adding a love triangle subplot, which is kind of weird, kind of boring, and definitely distracting from the meat of the story. In general, I found it to be pretty unnecessary. I think it just pads the runtime while slowing down the pace. It feels very much like an artificially invented piece of drama, and in the end doesn't even really go anywhere interesting, nor does it seem to have a significant impact on the main storyline. So, I think if it was removed entirely, it would shorten the film by about half an hour or so, and I think that would make it flow better and be more tightly focused. As it is, I think that really brings it down a notch or two and turns a potentially very good film into a just okay one.